Hi, I'm Alexander Pierce, and this is the story of how losing everything led me to discover who my family really was, and how one letter changed the game entirely. They say you never really know your family until money's involved. I learned that lesson the hard way at our annual Christmas dinner. But I also learned something else. Sometimes life's biggest humiliations come right before its sweetest victories. For 15 years, I was the family's golden child, the one everyone pretended to love but secretly resented. As CEO of Pierce Technologies, the company my grandfather had started in his garage, I had turned our family business into a $200 million enterprise. Every Christmas dinner, I'd sit at the head of the table, enduring the fake smiles and forced congratulations from my cousins while they asked for jobs, loans, or investment opportunities. My cousin Rachel, who tried and failed 3 times to launch her own tech startup, would always corner me with her latest pitch. James, the family lawyer who couldn't keep a client to save his life, would hint about becoming our corporate counsel. And Sarah, the youngest, would remind everyone how she deserved a management position despite having zero experience. But Grandpa Jack, he was different. While everyone else saw dollar signs when they looked at me, he saw the scared kid who used to help him tinker with computers in his garage. Remember Alex? He'd tell me during our private Sunday lunches, in business and in family, always watch the quiet ones. They're either plotting your downfall or protecting your back. I didn't understand what he meant until it was too late. The trouble started 3 months ago. Our company's board of directors called an emergency meeting. Someone had been selling corporate secrets to our biggest competitor. The evidence pointed to internal theft at the highest levels. As CEO, the buck stopped with me. The board's decision was unanimous. I had to step down while they conducted a full investigation. The news hit the business papers the next day. Pierce Technologies CEO ousted amid corporate espionage scandal. My phone exploded with messages, not of support, but of barely concealed glee from my family members. Saw the news, guess you're not so special after all, texted Rachel. Need a lawyer? My rates are reasonable, James messaged with a smirking emoji. Then Grandpa Jack passed away suddenly. The family gathered for the funeral, and I could feel their eyes on me, enjoying my fall from grace. The whispers followed me everywhere. Guess he's not speaking at the funeral, given everything, and wonder if he'll even be in the will now. But Grandpa's last words to me at our final lunch kept ringing in my ears. Sometimes, Alex, losing everything is the only way to see who's really on your side. Watch carefully who celebrates your downfall. They're showing you who they really are. Which brings us to tonight, Christmas dinner at the family mansion. Grandpa's will reading was scheduled for tomorrow, but his lawyer, Mr. Harrison, had called me privately this morning. Your grandfather left specific instructions. He'd said, be at dinner tonight, say nothing. Wait for my arrival at 8 p.m. sharp. So here I sat, at the far end of the table instead of my usual place at the head, enduring the worst family dinner of my life. Mom had outdone herself decorating the mansion, crystal snowflakes hanging from the chandelier, the massive Christmas tree dripping with ornaments, and Grandpa's empty chair at the head of the table, now occupied by Rachel. So Alex, Rachel called out, swirling her wine glass, how's the job search going? I hear McDonald's is hiring managers. The table erupted in poorly concealed laughter. I stabbed at my turkey, saying nothing. Oh come on, James chimed in. Surely someone wants to hire the famous Alex Pierce. Though I guess that corporate espionage scandal might look bad on the resume. More laughter. Even Mom, who'd always been my biggest supporter, joined in with a sharp comment. Well, I guess this proves no one's perfect after all. Even my golden boy can fall. Sarah, ever the opportunist, seized her moment. You know the board might be interested in some fresh blood. Someone younger, with new ideas. She let the implication hang in the air. I checked my watch. 7:55 p.m. 5 more minutes. What's wrong, Alex? Rachel taunted. Cat got your tongue. Usually you love telling us all about your brilliant business decisions. Maybe he's finally learned some humility, Mom added, and that hurt the most. It's about time, if you ask me. I looked around the table, taking in every smirking face, every gleaming eye enjoying my downfall. Grandpa's words echoed in my mind. Watch carefully who celebrates your downfall. Actually, I said, speaking for the first time that evening, I'm just waiting. Waiting for what? James snorted. your career to magically resurrect itself. The doorbell rang. 8 p.m. exactly. I allowed myself a small smile. No, waiting for that. The butler appeared in the dining room doorway. Mr. Harrison, the family lawyer, has arrived. He says he has urgent business that cannot wait until tomorrow. Rachel frowned. The will reading isn't until tomorrow. Tell him to come back. Actually, I interrupted. Grandpa left specific instructions for this exact moment. Mr. Harrison entered the room, carrying a leather briefcase that I knew contained a letter that would change everything. Because what my family didn't know, what none of them had bothered to discover while they were busy celebrating my downfall, was that I had never really been fired at all. The corporate espionage, my public disgrace, even my silence these past 3 months, it had all been part of Grandpa's final master plan. And in about 2 minutes, they were about to learn exactly why he'd always told me to watch the quiet ones. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat, commanding the room's attention. The butler quietly closed the dining room doors, following the instructions I'd given him earlier. No one was leaving until they heard everything. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Harrison began, I apologize for interrupting your Christmas dinner, but I have here an addendum to Jackson Pierce's will that was to be read specifically tonight, at exactly 8 p.m., 3 months after his passing. This is irregular, James protested, his lawyer instincts kicking in. As family counsel. As former family counsel, Mr. Harrison corrected, you should know that Mr. Pierce's instructions were quite clear and legally binding. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope. The room fell silent as he broke the seal. Before I begin, Mr. Harrison said, Mr. Pierce recorded a video message to accompany this letter. Shall we? He placed a tablet on the table, and suddenly Grandpa's face filled the screen. He looked tired but had that familiar mischievous glint in his eyes. If you're watching this, Grandpa began, then it's Christmas dinner, 3 months after my death, and my family is probably celebrating Alex's downfall. I know my family well, you see. I know exactly how you all think. The smirks around the table began to fade. For years, I've watched you circle Alex like vultures, envious of his success, waiting for him to fail. But what none of you bothered to notice was that while you were plotting against him, I was conducting an experiment, my final test to see who deserved to lead our family's legacy. Rachel's wine glass froze halfway to her lips. The corporate espionage scandal at Pierce Technologies, I orchestrated it. Every leaked document, every whispered rumor, every board meeting, it was all carefully planned. With Alex's full cooperation, of course. The room erupted in gasps. All eyes turned to me. You see, Grandpa continued, Alex and I spent the last year feeding fake information to someone we knew was selling company secrets. Can you guess who that was, Rachel? My cousin's face turned white. Her wine glass slipped from her fingers, staining the pristine tablecloth red. Those confidential documents you found so easily in Alex's office during your weekly family visits, the ones you sold to our competitors for millions, they were all fake, every single one. The real company plans were safe all along. That's not true, Rachel stammered. Mr. Harrison, I spoke up for the first time. Please play the surveillance footage. The tablet screen split to show security camera footage of Rachel sneaking into my office late at night, photographing documents with her phone. Dates stamped in the corner showed this happening over dozens of nights. The FBI has already been notified, I added quietly. They're probably at your house right now, Rachel. Those offshore accounts where you hid the money? Not as offshore as you thought. James jumped to his feet. This is entrapment. As Rachel's lawyer. Sit down, James, Grandpa's voice commanded from the video. You're next. Those client funds you've been embezzling? We know about those too. Amazing what a proper audit can reveal. James collapsed back into his chair, his face ashen. And Sarah, Grandpa continued, those fake resumes you've been sending to our board members, claiming executive experience you never had. Those references who were actually paid actors. Did you really think we wouldn't check? Sarah burst into tears, mascara running down her cheeks. Mom, I said softly, looking at her shocked face, this is why I couldn't tell you. We needed everyone's reactions to be genuine. I'm sorry. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat again. Shall I read the actual will addendum now? The room sat in stunned silence as he began to read. To my family, your true characters have been revealed. Rachel, James, and Sarah, you are hereby disinherited. Your shares in Pierce Technologies are forfeit. The evidence of your crimes has been forwarded to the relevant authorities. As for the company leadership, Alexander Pierce never stopped being CEO. The board announcement was part of our plan. He has proven himself not just a capable leader, but a man of integrity willing to sacrifice his reputation temporarily to protect the company from those who would destroy it from within. Therefore, I hereby leave controlling interest in Pierce Technologies to Alexander, along with my entire personal estate, valued at approximately $1.2 billion. The silence that followed was deafening. There's more, Mr. Harrison added. Mr. Pierce left specific instructions about tonight. Ms. Rachel Pierce, Mr. James Pierce, and Ms. Sarah Pierce are to be escorted from the premises immediately by the security team waiting outside. They are never to set foot on any Pierce property again. Right on cue, 3 security guards entered the dining room. This is ridiculous, Rachel screamed as they approached. You can't do this to us. We're family. I stood up slowly. Family? Family doesn't try to destroy each other. Family doesn't celebrate when one of their own falls. Grandpa taught me that, his final lesson. As they were let out, Mom reached for my hand. Alex, I'm so sorry. I should have. I gently pulled away. Yes, you should have. We'll talk about it someday, but not today. After everyone left, I sat alone in the dining room, looking at Grandpa's empty chair. Mr. Harrison placed a hand on my shoulder. Your grandfather would be proud, he said. You played your part perfectly. I nodded, thinking of all the nights I'd spent building this trap, weathering the public humiliation, watching my family reveal their true selves. It wasn't easy, I admitted. The best lessons never are, he replied. The next morning, the business papers ran a new headline. Pierce Technologies CEO orchestrates brilliant sting operation, saves company from industrial espionage. My phone buzzed with messages again, this time from business leaders congratulating me on my strategic genius. Rachel, James, and Sarah were arrested that week. Mom sent flowers to my office with an apology card, but I wasn't ready to forgive yet. Some wounds take time to heal. As for me, I hung Grandpa's picture in my office and got back to work. The company grew stronger than ever, now that the rot had been cut out. Sometimes I catch myself looking at that picture, remembering his words. Watch the quiet ones. He was right. Sometimes the quiet ones are plotting your downfall. But sometimes, like Grandpa and me, they're orchestrating justice. These days, when people ask me about that Christmas dinner, I just smile and tell them the truth. Sometimes losing everything is the best way to find out who you really are, and who others really are too. As for family, well, I learned that real family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty, trust, and integrity. Grandpa taught me that too, right up until this final masterpiece of a lesson.